Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monty Belmonte. Later in the show, a bus, a bed, a big fundraiser for the Cancer Connection as we learn more about the Grateful Bed Bus Tour.
And with the NEPM Asparagus Festival coming up this Saturday on the Hadley Common, we set out to see if our own taste buds can track the local flavor with our own experiment with the staff here at NEPM and asparagus spears from around the globe.
But first, the legislative lines on Capitol Hill resemble a battlefield more and more each day.
So we absolutely should check in with our congressman on the front lines.
Time for our weekly conversation with U.S. Congressman from the 2nd Congressional District of Massachusetts, the ranking member of the Rules Committee, Congressman Jim McGovern, in a segment we like to call McGoverning with McGovern. And there has been a change of tune in Washington over the last week or so, where the richest man on earth is now out of the greater graces of the Oval Office, and Elon Musk is betraying his former friend, calling Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill a, quote, disgusting abomination. Granted, not for the same reasons you might want to call it a disgusting abomination, right. Congressman McGovern. You did give a speech on the House floor outlining, I'm calling it 10 Things I Hate About You, which is the name of that famous movie, where you broke down the bill in 10 different pieces and criticized it, saying things like that there are $664 billion in tax breaks to the 1%, throwing 13.7 million people off of Medicaid, amongst other things. But are Democrats looking at Musk's change in tune as an opportunity to court Musk back to a party that he previously supported, or is Musk a liability at this point?
Yeah, I don't think anyone wants to court Musk back to being a Democrat. Having said that, I welcome his opposition to this big, ugly bill that the Republicans are trying to push, because it's going to hurt my constituents. It's going to hurt a lot of people throughout the country. Elon Musk cares about one thing, and that's Elon Musk. And so the idea that somehow we should put him on a pedestal or lift him up into making him into some kind of brilliant strategist when it comes to what's good for the American people. I mean, this is a guy who, again, cares about one thing, and that's himself. But I welcome his opposition to the bill, and I hope that maybe he can persuade a couple of Republicans to vote no.
No matter why they're voting no, even if it might be a different reason that you would have voted no.
Yeah. For those so-called fiscal hawks out there who talk about the deficit and the debt all the time, I mean, this adds close to $3 trillion to the deficit. So, I mean, if that's your issue, then how do you vote for this? But there were even people like Josh Hawley, who I can't stand, the senator from Missouri, who is now realizing that a big chunk of his rural constituency relies heavily on Medicaid for their health care, and that these cuts might result in the closure of hospitals and the denial of care for the people he represents. And so he understands that he'll have to pay a political consequence if this bill were to become a reality. So I don't care why people are against it. I want people to vote no, because I think it's a bad bill for this country.
In the so-called Big Beautiful Bill, there is a 10-year moratorium on states' abilities to enact policies to regulate artificial intelligence, which I know you just were at a conference about in Spain. The removal of that clause as an amendment is now having bipartisan support in none other than Marjorie Taylor Greene. A little bit too late. She could have been the one vote that would have not sent it to the Senate, but this bill is now in the Senate. Do you foresee with your Senate colleagues that there is any way that it passes in its current form? SALT, the state and local tax deduction, is also another big sticking point among some Republicans. Do you think this will have to just die on the vine or be revised, or do you think there's a chance it gets passed as is?
Yeah, I don't think it gets passed as is. There may be some tweaks in order to get it passed. We'll have to see what they are. But, you mentioned Marjorie Taylor Greene. With all due respect, I mean, honest to God, to come out and to say that she didn't know that this was in the bill, this 10-year moratorium on any state regulation on AI, is a little bit ridiculous. Number one, I mean, you could have read the bill. Two, her leadership scheduled the Rules Committee to meet on the bill to do a hearing beginning at 1 o'clock in the morning. And so if she didn't want to read the bill, and she was like her president, he doesn't like to read, he likes to watch TV, she could have watched us on TV. And in fact, during that Rules Committee hearing, we talked about this provision, and I offered an amendment to strike it from the bill. And every Republican voted against me on that. Look, this is AI is a reality that is coming at us. And if we don't get ahead of it, and if we don't put some regulation in place to kind of control it, then we're going to regret it very, very much. It's going to be hard to put the genie back in the bottle if these big tech companies are allowed to do anything they want. It's interesting, when I came back from this conference, my son Patrick and I went to see the new James Bond movie, The Last Reckoning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all, if you want to know why we need to regulate AI, go see that movie because it's about AI out of control. And but I mean, the excuses that these people are giving, like they didn't know it was in the bill. Their party wrote the bill without any consultation from us, and it was there in black and white. They could have read it. There were summaries of the bill, and this provision was in it. So, I get it. Everybody wants to now cover their rear ends, including those, who say they're deficit hogs. But they knew this was going to add to the deficit. They knew that this was going to provide unrestricted development for AI, and they knew it was going to throw millions of people off of healthcare, and they still voted for it. So I don't have a lot of confidence that even if that if this bill is brought back up again, I don't have a lot of confidence or trust in these people that they actually have the courage of their convictions, because they cave.
Speaking with U.S. Congressman Jim McGovern, McGoverning with McGovern, in other major congressional purse strings related news, the White House has introduced a rescission package, which, amongst other things, seeks to eliminate $8.3 billion in foreign aid, $1.1 billion from public broadcasting, including for National Public Radio and for PBS, also asking Congress to claw back funding for more than a dozen accounts across the State Department, including U.S. contributions to UN peacekeeping efforts, $900 million for global health programs, as well as $800 million for migration and refugee assistance. The package has been sent to the House, and we had a question from a listener and, full disclosure, previous guest of the show, Pablo Iglesias, a.k.a. DJ Bongo Head, wants to ask you, Congressman, one of the things keeping me awake at night and making me wake up early in the morning is worrying about the fate of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. In response from CPP President Patricia Harrison and NEPM President Matt Abramovitz, full disclosure again, my boss, pleas for listeners to contact their representatives to urge them to fight this move to defund and destroy PBS and NPR. I sent you, meaning me, Monty, an email because I wanted you to ask Representative McGovern on your McGoverning with McGovern segment what he's doing about the current looming clawback situation, which poses an existential threat to what he says is the most important independent news and cultural media entity in the U.S. If indeed the rescission package passes and the funding is taken away, it could mean no more Fabulous 413 and no more McGoverning with McGovern or anything else on NPR PBS in the near future. Now, I'll add, that might be slight exaggeration. We get 10% of our funding from the Corporation from Public Broadcasting, but it would hurt bad. He says, I know there's not a lot that can be done, but is there some way after the big disgusting bill, as he calls it, gets passed to get funding from somewhere else within the government to replace it? Anyway, sorry for the rant. Pablo Iglesias.
Well, I appreciate the rant, and it'll inspire me to rant next week when the bill comes before the Rules Committee. Look, one of the things that is going to be difficult for Republicans to weasel out of is any responsibility for the consequences of voting for that rescission package, because it will be very, very clear where the cuts are going to be. I mean, it will be explicit. And so they can't say, oh, no, it's really, we're just consolidating. Oh, no, we're just, making things run more efficiently. No, it'll be there. And public broadcasting is one of those areas which would be a tragedy if we were to withdraw funding from. But there are a million other things as well. And so we're going to fight this thing like hell. I mean, I guarantee, Pablo, I guarantee everybody who's listening that on this and a whole bunch of other of these rescission issues, we're going to fight in the Rules Committee. We're going to fight on the floor. This is about, the question we have to ask ourselves is like, what kind of country do we want to be? And some of these rescissions are cutting programs that help feed hungry kids halfway around the world, including one of the programs that I help author, the McGovern-Dole School Feeding Program. I mean, feeding millions and millions of poor kids in school settings in the poorest countries in the world. I mean, we're going to cut that, but we're going to boost up, our production of missiles and nuclear weapons. I mean, is that who we really are? Is that who we want to be? We're going to cut public broadcasting and try to, move out of the way so that, the Trump propaganda machine and all these right-wing propaganda machines that come in and basically distort facts and serve up misinformation for people. So there's a lot of discussion that's going to happen next week. We're told it's going to come before the Rules Committee midweek. And so, I'm prepared for a fight, and I guarantee it, I'm going to fight like hell on the House floor.
More coming up with Congressman Jim McGovern as he gives his insight to the flurry of activity by ICE across the country and gets ready to visit his home turf at this weekend's Asparagus Festival.
Speaking of asparagus, it's said that Hadley grass reigns supreme, but can our taste buds truly tell the difference in where the stalks have been grown? We have a taste test of the crop here at the station with the NEPM staff. You can meet at the NEPM Asparagus Festival this weekend.
And a VW bus and a bed walk into a bar and a theater, and a couple of radio stations to help cancer patients and their caretakers as we hear more about the Grateful Bed fundraiser for the Cancer Connection.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
Welcome back to the Fabulous 413. We return to our conversation with U.S. Representative Jim McGovern, starting with another question from a listener like you.
Our news department at NEPM, along with our parent company, GBH, released a story saying that nearly 1,500 people in Massachusetts have been seized by ICE. There was a big protest in Amherst over the weekend, and Jennifer from Amherst asks, Congressman, are you aware of how many people from your district have been picked up by ICE? And we here at the show have been hearing a lot of anecdotal stories from farm owners and farm workers saying that, this farm lost a worker on Monday, this farm had a worker taken last week. Many of the specifics of what ICE is doing is being kept under wraps or hard to figure out. Is your office involved in any of these cases? And do you have an idea of how many people from the 2nd Congressional District might have been picked up by ICE?
I think it's several dozen, but the ICE is not sharing with their data. But I mean, I'm picking this up from individuals who are calling us, from activists, from community leaders who are informing me of what's going on. Look, again, I mean, this is horrific what's going on. I think everybody agrees that violent criminals do not belong in this country. Nobody has an objection to that. But what we do have an objection to are people who are part of our community, who are doing good in our community, and who are beloved by our community, being targeted by masked individuals who come into cities and towns unannounced and basically kidnap people. Children are being kidnapped. We have U.S. citizens who are mistakenly being picked up by ICE and held and having trouble trying to prove that they're U.S. citizens. This is the kind of stuff we should not want to happen in this country. And the only way we can really stop it at this point is through the courts in the short term and through an election to basically take away funding from ICE so they can't do this stuff anymore. I was on a talk radio show a little earlier today, and this issue got brought up, and we got to tighten up our boys. We're going to do this with that. The reality is, people come to this country for a variety of reasons. Some people are here because they overstayed their visas. There are some people here seeking political asylum. There are some people here who want to be with their families. There are some people here fleeing, desperate economic situations in their country. That's the history of immigration throughout world history. And if we really want to deal with this issue, we should, first of all, revisit our current immigration laws and fix them so that we can, bring dreamers to a legal status, so we can help make it easier for people to come here, so they don't have to wait 100 years to become a U.S. citizen. That we ought to respect our asylum laws so that we are a place where people who flee persecution can find refuge. And we also need to understand that we need to care about what happens in other countries around the world, because when they blow up because of internal strife or, a war or violence, people leave. They leave and they come here. And sometimes they don't have the time or the luxury to go through a long, long process in order to save their lives and the lives of their families. So we need to talk about this issue sensibly. We need to move it out of this political, polarized climate in which it's being discussed here. I mean, and again, we need to move beyond the sound bites. But I'm just, again, you're committing a violent crime in this country. I have no hesitation to say, you've lost your right to remain here. But kids, people who work on farms, people who have been here for years, giving back to our community. I want these people here. I want these people here. I value them as part of our community. They are part of our community. They're our neighbors. They're our friends. And so this is a time for us to raise our voices, to stand in solidarity with the immigrant community, to work with our local officials. We should not be cooperating at all with people who are invading our communities and stealing people in the middle of the night. I think I may have told you this before, but I was at a forum on education at WPI in Worcester not long ago, and one of the graduate students there told me that he walks around all the time with a U.S. passport in his pocket. He was born in the Dominican Republic. He is a citizen. He came here when he was a little kid, but he's afraid he's going to be picked up. And he's reading about people who are being picked up because they look, quote, like immigrants, and their driver's license, their real ID driver's license doesn't suffice, and they're being held. And so he out of an abundance of caution walks around with a passport, and he wants his parents to do the same thing. I mean, the idea that a U.S. citizen in this country feels that they have to walk around with a U.S. passport because they might be kidnapped by masked ICE agents, it's disgusting.
Congressman, there have been certain instances where ICE has shown up in a community and a rapid response network. There is a rapid response network locally called Loose has been enacted. Meanwhile, Michael Kroll, who's the special agent in charge of Homeland Security investigations in New England, warned in a story in a press conference, I caution those who try to impede or obstruct operations or those who dare to threaten or assault our law enforcement officers. I don't think anybody is saying we should threaten or assault our law enforcement officers, but what level of resistance do you think that your constituents should raise if they are concerned about what ICE is doing? Should they be rapidly responding? Should they be intervening in some way?
I do think that there needs to be a rapid response. I do support that. I mean, obviously, one of the things that I'm trying to work with the Attorney General's office on is helping our communities. We had an instance in Worcester where some people got arrested, and but I want people to know what their rights are. How you resist, what you can do. You can't push a law enforcement officer, but there are other ways that you can kind of stand in the way. We need to do a lot more know your rights, and I know some of these organizations, like the one you mentioned, are doing that. But sometimes people show up and they're not familiar with what you can and cannot do in order for them not to end up being taken away or arrested by either local or being charged by federal law enforcement. But yeah, no, we have to protest this. We have to protest this, and we have to make it clear that we don't agree with this. That our community does not want to be identified with what the Trump administration is forcing upon us. This is about our humanity. This is about, again, what kind of country we want to be. And again, to those who are listening, McGovern's going on this kind of liberal rant about, open up our borders. No one's saying that, right? We need better immigration laws in this country that actually accommodate the realities that current day immigrants are facing. But people are people. I mean, we had a teenager that was taken in our state. It's cruel and it's terrifying. It's terrifying for the immigrant communities. It's terrifying for people who think they might be viewed as an undocumented immigrant, but who are U.S. citizens. It's terrifying for everybody who lives in a community. To walk down the street and to see people with masks on, armed, coming out and charging after somebody in the United States. I mean, really, is that what we've come to? And so again, I mean. If you want to control the people who are coming here, two things: let's have better immigration laws that accommodate people and where they're at, and two, maybe we can be a force for good around the world, so we're not like just selling weapons to every country that wants them, or that we're not, sanctioning this country or that country because we don't like their politics or whatever. Maybe we ought to figure out ways to be leaders to bring more stability to the world rather than causing more chaos. But there are things. But I think people should be involved in resisting. But I think it is important that we all know our rights.
Congressman McGovern, we'll see you this Saturday at the Asparagus Festival, where I will once again encourage you to get involved in a bunching competition, I think. of asparagus. But we'll also.
I think I did okay last year. In
Yeah,
the
you did. I'm pretty sure
competition.
you might have beat our president, Matt Abramovitz, who we mentioned earlier in this conversation. But I will also welcome listener questions to say if you have especially agricultural related questions, and that could have to do with immigration, like we just talked about, or other things coming up in different bills, farm bill and things like that. Send them our way at the fab413 at nepm.org, and I'll ask him at the Asparagus Festival this Saturday afternoon, which we'll be glad to welcome you to there. And we're glad to welcome you to these airwaves every week. You can send a question anytime, and I'll ask him on your behalf. And we'll get a hopeful update, too, about what's giving you hope this week from the stage of the Asparagus Festival. Or you can tell us now. Tell us now if you've got time.
So I go back a week and a half ago when the Republicans brought this big, ugly bill to the floor that would do a lot of damage to our country. I was proud of some of my Democratic colleagues who, they had called the Rules Committee to meet at 1 o'clock in the morning, and over 100 of them, over 100 Democrats came to the Rules Committee to testify and to make the case why this big, bad, ugly bill is terrible. And the reason why it gives me hope is because, it's more convenient to go to bed rather than stay up all night. And they stayed up all night and they fought back. I think, people are beginning to feel the passion and the importance of this moment, and they're fighting back. So I'm hopeful about that.
Well, hopefully we'll have good weather for the Asparagus Festival too, and we can hear more about the hope and the work that you are doing in Congress for the 2nd Congressional District. Thanks again, Congressman Jim McGovern. McGoverning with McGovern. See you on Saturday at the Asparagus Festival.
Speaking of the Asparagus Festival, at which McGovern will be this Saturday on the Hadley Common, we'll pit Hadley's grass against the spears of 2 other locations near and far and have the NEPM staff taste them all.
But first, a band that Khalees and I hate, but a cause we both love as we get on the Grateful Dead bus tour for the Cancer Connection with Chelsea Klein and Tara Brewster next.
Just saying, those are not the miracles I'm looking for.
No.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Window World of Western Mass, a local family business with experienced craftsmen offering wood, vinyl, and composite windows. WindowWorldOfWesternMA.com.
Welcome back to the Fabulous 413. Tomorrow, Friday, June 6th, begins the confluence of many things I greatly love and one which I specifically do not. The Grateful Dead Tour is a day-long celebration of music, food, community, and gratitude, all to help the Cancer Connection in Florence keep on trucking. And that Grateful Dead part is the part that I do not love. But the ridiculous publicity stunt, which is the part I do love, is all to raise money and awareness for the work of the Cancer Connection in Florence, which I also love. And here to talk about the Grateful Dead bus tour is Cancer Connection Executive Director Chelsea Klein and the woman who will travel around the valley in a bed in the back of an electric VW bus, Greenfield Savings Bank's Tara Brewster.
Hi, Monty.
Hello. Thank
Hi,
you both
Monty.
for joining us. Now, full disclosure, Greenfield Savings Bank, a big sponsor of NEPM and of our Asparagus Festival on Saturday. So they're always doing some good interactive community things and weird interactive community things, like A, an Asparagus Festival, and B, a bus tour where a person will go in the back of a bus in a bed to raise money for the Cancer Connection. We will get to some of the origin stories of this type of event shortly, but Chelsea Klein, for those who aren't familiar with the work of the Cancer Connection in Florence, tell us what your mission and vision and a little bit of the history is.
Absolutely. So Cancer Connection has been around for 25 years, which is partly why we're doing this great big celebration this year to celebrate our 25th anniversary. Our mission, which was crafted by our very visionary founders, Deb Orgera and Jackie Walker, they wanted to create a warm haven for people with a cancer diagnosis and also their loved ones and caregivers. And what that means is we offer entirely free programs and services for those people. And we have been around, like I said, for 25 years in Western Massachusetts.
And it's amazing. And the first, I encountered you very close to the beginning of the mission of the Cancer Connection, and I knew Deb and Jackie. And to hear about getting a cancer diagnosis and then the fear that comes with that, and then the fact that you become, as a human being, some sort of medical experiment in some ways to try to help you through it or to cure you from the cancer is so daunting. So the fact that the Cancer Connection was created to help deal with the human side of this diagnosis is what's so inspirational. That, on top of the fact that it's free for people who come to receive the services, and
for the people who care for the people with cancer, because the toll of taking care of somebody with cancer is huge, as my family has found out for the first time over the last couple weeks when my father-in-law, after a diagnosis of pancreatic cancer in early April, passed away in the middle of May.
I'm so sorry.
Yes, thank you. And if only you offered grief support, we would be there for that. But there are other organizations that do the grief support. But talk, Chelsea, a little bit about some of the programs that you at the Cancer Connection offer for people who are going through cancer and for their caregivers.
And you're absolutely right. It's all about the human part of receiving that diagnosis and all of the emotion that comes along with it. If it's fear, if it's anger, if it's being totally frozen, if it's not knowing how to even process those feelings, that's what Cancer Connection is here to help to do. We have support groups. We have a whole different variety of support groups. We've got a queer support group. We have got a newly diagnosed support group, a men's group. So all of those can be found on our website. We even have one-on-one confidential emotional support, which is what we call befriending. So we have trained staff that are called befrienders, and they are available over the phone and also in person to meet with people completely confidentially, one-on-one, to be that non-anxious presence, to listen, to support, to guide them to resources within Cancer Connection and even beyond Cancer Connection. And then we also have integrative therapies. Again, all of these are free of charge. So we have massage, we have Reiki, acupuncture, and reflexology.
And I've heard so many stories about people that get a cancer diagnosis at Cooley Dickinson, which is right across the street from the Cancer Connection. And one of the first prescriptions is go across the street or call the Cancer Connection and start talking to them. And the befriending is an important part of that, because that's what I think people need right away in that moment, a listening ear. And that's what you have trained folks to do at the Cancer Connection.
Yeah, we have amazing staff at the Cancer Connection.
And that is what the fundraiser tomorrow, the Grateful Bed bus tour, will be all about. And in the bed, in the bus, a Volkswagen bus, an electric Volkswagen bus, nonetheless. My son Pax and I, we drive on King Street, and I drive by the Volkswagen dealership, and there will be VW buses parked there. And every time Pax and I are like, oh man, those are cool looking things. And as an electric car driver, I'm jealous of the VW bus that is electric. But you, Tara Brewster, are going to be in the back of one provided by Country, right?
By Northampton Volkswagen, Tommy Car Auto. Thank you, Carla Kazenzi. It was our dream to get the VW Buzz, is what they're called, the ID Buzz. It was our absolute dream to get to be able to borrow one for the day. And we asked Carla, and she said yes.
I hear, hey, Carla. That's how you have to ask that way. And I hear they wrapped it, too, with all sorts of Cancer Connection stuff. Tara Brewster, you're from Greenfield Savings Bank, but you are a do-gooder extraordinaire. Tell us about your involvement with this Grateful Bed bus tour.
Well, you handed this wonderful event off to me, which has been sort of manifesting itself since your Camp Out for Cancer Connection days on the courthouse lawn in downtown Northampton, which so many people know and love. So thank you for that. It's been really great to go from the COVID and the bed-in from the Hotel Northampton to the bed-in in Greenfield Savings Bank. And now it's evolved after 3 years to taking it on the road for the 25th year. So I'm so excited to be driven around by and with Chelsea Klein. This is a dream come true, and we'll just be able to get out and see so many people throughout the region. That's what Cancer Connection does. They service so many people throughout the region and really have all these amazing touch points. So we're taking it on the road.
I will explain a little bit of the backstory that you just referenced there. When I fell in love with the work of the Cancer Connection and they asked me to be involved in a fundraiser, I said, let's do a ridiculous publicity stunt where they will mildly torture me by doing things I hate, which were camping and cold weather. So I camped out in the cold for over a decade in the old courthouse lawn in downtown Northampton and was not allowed to leave that lawn until we raised enough money for the Cancer Connection. The last time I camped out was February 29th, 2020.
Oh.
And days later, the world would change entirely. And then we morphed it into a bed-in a la John and Yoko, mostly because I was lazy and sick of being tortured in that way. You just took the lazy part, and you're getting driven around in a bed. Where's the torture?
We're making her eat cupcakes all day.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah, wah.
But you're going to be going to all sorts of different stops. It will begin at where it began for when I started doing the Cancer Connection at 93.9 The River, WRSI at the station there. Well, actually, it kicks off at the Cancer Connection itself, right?
That's right, at 41 Locust Street, 7:30 a.m. Come and join us for cupcakes and bagels at Cancer Connection.
Nice. And then we'll go over to the river where I hopefully maybe will stop by and see you there in the bus. And then where does it go to?
Then we head over to Share Coffee in Amherst. We will be there by 10:30 a.m. We'll be there till 11:30.
And a quick pause. Ken Micah, who runs Share Coffee,
Yes.
was one of the first ever Cancer Connection campers. When he heard me doing this all by myself in the first couple of years, he was like, if you ever opened this up to other people, I would definitely come. And he and his crew at the Lady Killigrew Cafe came year after year, giant tents, tons of stories.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was just
Great.
texting with Lizzie, his wife,
Yeah.
Yesterday, and she's going to be there to hang out and visit with us, too. So I'm so excited to see her as well.
Yeah, these tendrils that still connect, the Cancer Connection, are really, really, really fun. And then after Share, up on Pleasant Street in Amherst.
Then we're heading up to Turner's Falls to the Shea Theater at noon, and
Heard of
we
it.
will have music from Cloud Belly there, and also we'll have cupcakes. We're going to bring in cupcakes with us all day. Small Oven and Atkins Farms have donated cupcakes to us.
Interesting. Why cupcakes? Is that a part
For
of
our
the...
birthday.
Oh, yeah, right. 25th birthday. And then tying it back into Tara Brewster, the last stop is...
Well, actually, we've got 2 more stops after that.
Oh,
GSBHQ. Yeah, we get to roll to 400 Main Street in Greenfield to see Greenfield Savings Bank. And Greenfield Savings Bank is doing a $15,000 match. So we're so excited about that. And we'll be able to share and celebrate with some of the team there in Greenfield.
2:30, Greenfield Savings Bank, downtown Greenfield. And then on to Food Truck Friday in East Hampton with
yeah.
Abandoned Building Brewery.
fun. So you're just going to be driven around
need to
like
pace
a diva.
Oh, my God.
I can't wait till you take over the March for the Food Bank, Tara Brewster. What, are they going to take you in a litter? Carry you around like a goddess?
She is a goddess.
I hope Sean Barry's listening to this right now because he can push me.
Sean Barry is the person from Four Seasons Wine and Liquors who helps me with my shopping cart on the Food Bank March, which I've yet to relinquish. But if I do, I'm pretty sure Tara Brewster will be
Thank you,
involved.
Al.
Tara, who also comes on the March for the Food Bank. So yeah, again, you're one of these do-gooders apart from your role in Greenfield Savings Bank.
I learned it by watching you, Monty.
Chelsea Klein, Executive Director of the Cancer Connection. Is there a goal of how much money you're trying to raise in this 25th anniversary Grateful Bed bus tour?
We have not set a goal publicly, although people can help us to support our mission and to keep our programs and services entirely free by coming to these stops and visiting with us. We will have a prize pull full of all kinds of amazing fun prizes and merchandise and hats and fun things. And we also have an online auction that is completely full of concert tickets.
Oh, fun.
We've got tickets to James Taylor and Martin Sexton and Bonnie Raitt and RuPaul and Cyndi Lauper. So there's multiple opportunities for people to give and support this really fun event, and they can also get something really awesome in return.
That is amazing. One thing I failed to mention is in that last Cancer Connection campout, February 29th, 2020, knowing it was the last one, I wanted to triple down on my mild torture. So I hate the cold, I hate camping, and I strongly dislike the Grateful Dead. So I created what was called the Grateful Dead Thunderdome, where we built a geodesic dome on the old courthouse lawn in downtown Northampton, and I would have to sit in that dome and listen to live Grateful Dead music until people spent enough money to spring me from the dome. People like East Hampton Mayor Nicole LaChapelle, who's a huge Grateful Dead fan, paid to keep me in torture in the dome. Who came up with the idea that this 25th anniversary celebration would be a slight to the legacy I created of this event and celebrate the Grateful Dead in this way?
I am not naming names, but you know what? Everyone we talk to about it cracks up. So I think it's doing a good job, Monty.
I do too. And
Are they in this room with us now?
I refuse to name names.
We also may have ordered some bear ears for tomorrow.
Some bear ears? Like, so you're going to look like the Grateful Dead bear?
Or dancing bears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did get custom tie-dyes. And actually, I have a present for you, Monty.
Oh, God.
Ooh, I love it.
Is it a live Grateful Dead album?
And there's one for Khalees, too.
Let's see what we got here.
You have to talk about these.
Khalees hates the Grateful Dead
Yeah.
as much as I do.
Yeah.
So Monty is opening our special shirts for the Grateful Bed Tour. And on the front is the tie-dye ticket stub for the Grateful Bed Tour, which is on Friday, June 6th, all day tomorrow.
Trucking since 2000. Can I get a miracle? Oh, here it is. Here's my ticket. Grateful. It looks, all the logos. I also say, in credit of the Grateful Dead, they do have good, like their skull thing is cool. The bears are cute.
Yeah.
Their music. They've got 2 good albums.
Also on the auction item list is some Grateful Dead bear glasses. So.
Oh, yeah. Well,
should-
maybe those should be Grateful Dead tickets because they somehow continue to truck on, even though they retired like 50 different times. And people are like, now John Mayer's in the Grateful Dead. I don't know. Then he retires from the Grateful Dead, and then they're around again.
But it's a perfect theme because we don't want Cancer Connection to fade to gray.
Oh, my word. Yeah. I agree with the sentiment. I hate the reference. Well, it's the Grateful Dead bus tour, and it kicks off tomorrow, Friday, June 6th, 7:30 a.m. at the Cancer Connection on Locust Street in Florence, right across from Cooley Dickinson Hospital. It'll wrap up at Greenfield Savings Bank. That is the last official stop before the partying begins at Abandoned Building and the Food Truck Friday in East Hampton. But Greenfield Savings Bank, where Tara Brewster, who will be riding around in the bed, works professionally when she's not doing all this do-good stuff. The Cancer Connection means something special to you in particular, though, Tara. There is a reason behind why you are doing this particular event.
When I was 15 and living in Florence, just down the road from where Cancer Connection is, my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer. And unfortunately, she passed away my senior year of high school in 1997, and the Cancer Connection wasn't around then. So I definitely have early loss with cancer and have subsequently lost other people due to cancer. So, I love that Chelsea always says cancer doesn't discriminate against anybody. It happens in a lot of different people's lives. And so, I really want to provide awareness and resources for people to access services, help, friends, care for people that are going through this.
And it's amazing that it's free. And it's amazing the intuition that Deb and Jackie had 25 years ago to know that there was a need that was not being met when you become that medical experiment of trying to cure the cancer, that your humanity exists through it. I've learned so many lessons from the people who have gone through Cancer Connection, most importantly, to live life right now. Mm-hmm. It almost feels like it could be something that's part of a Grateful Dead lyric, too, I will admit. It is the Grateful...
We have to write a song for you, Mark.
No. It is the Grateful Dead bus tour to support the Cancer Connection, starring Tara Brewster, and all to support this great organization led by Chelsea Klein, the Executive Director of the Cancer Connection. Thank you both so much. Keep on trucking, I guess.
Thank you, Monty, for all that you've done for Cancer Connection over the years.
Find more information about the Grateful Dead tour fundraiser, including where the bus and bed will be tomorrow at cancer-connection.org.
You can also ask them to stop referencing the Grateful Dead in their events while donating there.
That sounds like your last fundraiser for them, where people were sometimes donating to turn it off.
Not enough of them, unfortunately.
That is true. Anyhow, up next to get ready for the Asparagus Festival, we have the staff here at NEPM try spears from all over to see if we can correctly identify asparagus from Hadley.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by the UMass 5 College Credit Union, offering co-op advantage checking with cash back on all purchases, plus secure debit card controls, all from the UMass 5 mobile banking app. Insured by NCUA, umass5.coop. The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Northeast Solar, homegrown in Hatfield, Massachusetts, and providing energy savings for their customers for over 10 years. Learn more at northeast-solar.com.
As you have no doubt heard a bazillion times on NEPM, and in the lawn signs that you'll see all over the place, this Saturday is the NEPM Asparagus Festival, where we celebrate our most favorite and famous crop, marijuana.
Students.
Asparagus. We are in the NEPM kitchen right now at a forced fund mixer to try to build community spirit here, which I love to do. And one of the ways we're going to do that is have strawberry shortcake, which is over there, and then also taste different asparagus. Asparagi?
And asparaguses, if octopus is the way we're doing this.
From 3 different locations. Fabulous 413 director, Tony Dunn, you have donned this age of asparagus. Where are our 3 choices from?
Our 3 choices are from Peru, not the town, but Peru, the country.
The nation.
Last I checked.
Distinction only needed to be made in Massachusetts.
Yeah, it's true.
Florida, Massachusetts. Oh no, I'm just kidding.
Exactly. In Plainfield, Massachusetts, on Route 116, Wolf Tree Farms is one option, and then we have the traditional Hadley grass.
And so our goal here is to try to see if we can taste the Hadley grass apart from the other non-Hadley grasses. Does Hadley grass live up to the hype? Or have we been Hadley, as our CEO, Matt Abramovich, said as a joke earlier, all credit to him.
He's as funny as you are. So I've noticed right off the bat, and I'll leave this blind, but Khalees and I were commenting that they all look radically different. One is greener than the other, one is thicker than the other. They all physically have different characteristics.
And that can vary from farm to farm too, but
But like we're talking about some that came from way far away, some that came from a very high elevation, and some that came from a valley. Well, 2 that came from very high elevations because Peru is pretty high up there. But like it's interesting to see on the plate that definitely has some influence on how it might grow.
Now, Khalees, you're in charge of this experiment. There are 6 plates labeled A, B, C, D, E, F.
This toaster oven is not cooking the way I want it to, and I have to kind of give up now.
But you are cooking asparagus in a toaster oven.
Yes.
And then there is also raw asparagus.
Yeah, because they do different things, and they're going to taste a little bit different. So, like, your favorite that is raw might not be your favorite that is cooked.
And the goal still is to be able to differentiate the asparaguses from each other.
To see if there is a taste difference that you can tell, just like as a layperson.
All right, I'm digging in.
And the other thing is, I think we're going to ask everybody to put a hash mark next to the one they like, both raw and then we'll count up at
The
the
one
end.
that they like the best.
Correct.
Okay. Starting at A. A, B, and C are raw. D, E, and F are cooked. Kara Foster, digging into A.
Monty Belmonte.
Your husband works for Marty's Local, so probably delivers this stuff all over the place.
Yes.
So are you
I
an
first-
expert taster?
I like to think so. Our first 2 bunches of grass came from Wally early in the
Wally
season.
Psychowski, yeah.
Before-
And you live in Hadley, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so.
So
you
if I
really
don't,
need to
if
find
I
the whole
don't
team.
get, if I don't get the Hadley grass, it's gonna be really embarrassing.
NEPM's Jill Kaufman. Where do you want to start?
I just want to say that we both live in Hadley. Where do I want to start? I'll start with cooked.
Put a hash mark next to the one you like the best for each, but put an H next to the one you think is Hadley.
Kara, you've tried all the 3 raw ones. Kara from Hadley. Do you think you know which one is Hadley?
I'm not 100% sure. I know it's not A.
I also believe that to be true.
The B is good, but I think the C is the Hadley grass. All right, I'll give you a definite answer when I eat the cooked ones.
But they're not matched. They're all random.
All right. Are they the same?
No, so like these don't necessarily go.
No, but I meant there's Hadley in here and there's some
Hadley
other
is,
place.
one is from Hadley, one is from Peru, the nation, and one is from Plainfield.
And you want to know which I think is from Hadley on this?
Jill Kaufman celebrating 20 years with WFCR this month. Woo!
Oh my
Do you think you know which one is Hadley?
I eat a lot of asparagus, and sometimes I do eat it from the ground with the dirt. It's F or D from Hadley, and I liked F the best.
What about in the raw? Did you try the raw?
Like going right over there right now.
All right. Marla Zippe, have you tried yet?
I have tried several of them. I'm on C right now. This looks a little bit too thick to me for Hadley asparagus.
But thick, you can grow them thick in Hadley too. That's the thing.
I don't know. I always get thin asparagus in Hadley.
That's because they bunch them, either the thick ones or the thin ones. So that may be more personal preference. Marla, for listeners who are listening now, anytime you watch NEPM television, you're the voice that says like when things are on.
I can't stop talking.
You can keep watching PBS Kids on NEPM 57.3 or on these cable channels.
All right, so we have to pick which one is from Hadley.
You have to pick which one you like the best and which one you think is from Hadley.
Okay.
Are some of them seasoned though? Some of
Yeah,
them are
all
buttered?
these 3 are cooked and
these are
seasoned,
not.
but seasoned and cooked the same way, and all these 3 are raw.
I thought that was the difference.
It's all mixed in Mass. Plainfield, Mass, Hadley, Mass, and Peru, the nation, not Peru, Mass. See if you can prove which one is Hadley. Don Hawk, going in for the kill.
Yes, I am.
Do you have any early thoughts? That was your first one.
Probably Peru, just based on the size of it.
Interesting.
Are there any front runners?
In the raw category, I have a couple of ideas, and some people have had similar ones. The cooked one, I think it makes it a little bit more difficult when you cook them.
Fair.
Jill Kaufman?
The reason I picked the one that I picked to be grown in Hadley raw is because it tasted like peas, like fresh peas.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there was a sweetness.
And which one did you say you thought was Hadley?
The far right. So what?
Letter C.
Letter C. Letter C.
Yeah.
I'll go eat some strawberries now.
Yeah, good thinking. NEPM News Department's Elizabeth Roman. You're just skipping the asparagus and going right.
Absolutely. I don't believe in asparagus or any other vegetable.
Strawberry shortcake is the best vegetable for you.
Strawberries, fruits. I'm a big fruit fan. It's the veggies that I can't do.
So technically it's a vegetable.
Wait, strawberries are vegetables?
Strawberries are vegetables.
Well, then I like a vegetable. You learn something new every day.
According to the Carnegie Museum, botanists called the strawberry a false fruit, a pseudocarp. A strawberry is actually a multiple fruit which consists of many tiny individual fruits embedded in a fleshy receptacle. I could not find any evidence that strawberries were considered vegetables.
Palate
cleansing beverages here?
What was that, John Sutton?
Do you have any palate cleansing beverages? I mean, isn't that what you're supposed to do?
You're in management here. You're the one who's supposed to take care of that. We're content. We came up with the idea.
Before 5 o'clock.
The most legendary voice in the entire valley, Kari and Jiri.
No.
You're sticking to strawberry shortcake. You're not going to do our asparagus experiment?
No, I got deadline.
Okay, walk me through the rules.
The rules are these are 3 raw asparagus,
Okay, and 3 cooked.
3 cooked, all cooked the same way.
Okay.
These do not all match together
Okay.
in the way they're lined up.
Okay.
You vote for which one you like the best
Okay.
of raw and cooked, and then put an H next to the one you think is from Hadley.
Okay. So I've tried the 3 raw. I think a B was my favorite of the raw. I have not tried the cooked yet. Okay, that's pretty good. I mean, asparagus is just so delicious.
There are a lot of guesses right now that
Yeah.
C is Hadley asparagus and that F is Hadley asparagus. Although there's a lot for the E there too. I think it's going to be hard to differentiate Plainville from Hadley, but a little bit easier to differentiate Western Mass from the nation of Peru.
So I think B and D were my favorite asparaguses, and I think the Hadley. I will go with the what appears to be the crowd and say that the Hadley asparagus was C and E. So hopefully, I've nailed it.
Yeah, we're going to find out.
Okay, great.
Khalees will be the one who tells us how right we are or how wrong we are. Digital producer Ayu Siriawan, what do you think is what?
Well, I actually only really have opinions on the cooked ones. I think D is from Peru. I didn't even need to try the other ones to know it was from Peru because it was much less flavorful. I did try the raw, but honestly, I had a hard time telling the difference. And I found that the tips are harder to tell the difference than the stalks.
Yeah, and I like the tips better. I keep eating them, so I'm having a little bit of a hard time. But if I had to guess right now, I think B is Hadley and F is Hadley. What do you say, Hadley, Kara?
I think the C and the E are Hadley. I definitely think A is the Peru.
Kara, you're not even tempted to jump in there?
No.
You don't want to ruin the taste of strawberry shortcake in your mouth.
Exactly. I should have had the asparagus first.
Yeah. Have dessert after.
Yeah.
NEPM's Vanessa Cirillo, who's behind the Asparagus Festival this year, tell us some of the things that you are most excited about for Saturday at the Asparagus Festival.
Well, Monty, we've got a brand new polka band, the Eddie Foreman Orchestra. We're going to be there for the very first time.
Which is awesome because Hadley and farmers have such a huge Polish tradition, and polka is such a huge Polish tradition.
That's right. We're really excited to have that for the first time this year. Also, the asparagus bunching contest is always a fave, and I know you're a big part of that, so I'm looking forward to seeing how quickly you can bunch this year.
I don't do the bunching. I just make elected officials do it and embarrass themselves.
All right, well, that seems about right.
Yeah.
Good.
How many people come to the Asparagus Festival?
We're expecting between 7,000 and 8,000 people, but there's plenty of parking, so don't worry.
What if it rains?
If it rains, we're still there. We're, that it's rain or shine, and we're happy that it's that way because that's the way life is, especially in Massachusetts and especially in the summer, spring, whatever season we're in now.
And it's free, but it's a way to support public media.
That's right. It's free, and we ask for a suggested donation of $5 per person or $20 per family that helps support the festival costs, and also the proceeds go to support New England Public Media programs just like yours.
And by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you.
All right, Khalees knows the correct answers for what is what. So, in the raw asparagus category, we have most votes for the letter C as Hadley asparagus.
Okay.
Which one is Hadley asparagus?
This one's Hadley asparagus.
Whoa, that's the one I guessed. B.
That one's Hadley asparagus. This is Plainfield.
So that's cool because a lot of people did recognize that A tasted like it wasn't from here.
Right.
So we were good enough to taste not from here, but most people guessed that the Plainfield was, except for me. Booyah, Kara from Hadley. What about...
I knew the Peru.
Most of us knew the Peru, and when you were pointing at that as the Hadley, I was
I'm
like,
so sorry.
we have failed miserably.
No, we're fine.
Okay,
We're fine.
what about the cooked asparagus? How did we do? Most votes, it appears, are for E as the Hadley grass. I think I voted for F, and D is what seems to be most people think is Peru.
Plainfield again.
Most people liked the Hadley one, but voted that the Hadley one...
This is Peru.
What? Wow! So we totally screwed up when we cooked it.
Yeah.
So don't cook your asparagus, everybody. Eat it raw right out of the ground. We all knew it was Peru when it wasn't cooked, but when it got cooked, kind of great equalizer. Set it on fire.
Set it on fire.
Cool. Well, you can come and taste asparagus and have it in ice cream and experience the wonder of the porta potties at a festival that explores this wonderful crop.
Asparagus fries.
Asparagus fries. Oh, those are, get in line early for those. Man, oh man. Many years I missed them because it was just too big a line.
I will say that I think part of it is because the Plainville stuff came and it was so much thicker than Hadley's.
Yeah, and people were kind of thinking, oh, if it's thicker, it must not be from Hadley. Not the case. There's thick Hadley asparagus, there's thin Hadley asparagus.
Thick asparagus is better than skinnies. I like that.
I like the skinnies.
Yeah, and
the Plainfield was the thickest.
Yeah.
The Hadley was the greenest.
Yeah, and the thicker ones allow it to be sweeter when it's cooked, which is probably why this one was preferred. Good job, everybody.
We tried.
This is the dawning of the age of asparagus.
And again, the lesson is the closer it's grown to you, the better it's going to taste.
Yeah, fresher stuff is better stuff.
It's true.
Yeah, but then when you cook it, it's all no longer fresh. And also, I think you put a little extra salt on the Peruvian one, and that made me like it better.
I mean, that might be
because, as you know,
I wasn't measuring how much salt I put on.
I love salt
I was
so much.
eyeballing that.
We are still looking for asparagus recipes, so do send yours to us at thefab413@nepm.org.
On the next Fabulous 413, it's shad season, and in Holyoke, they're having a whole festival to celebrate.
So we head down to the Holyoke Dam to check out the fish elevator, learn more about the shad from Andrew Fisk, and hear what fun activities they've got planned for Sunday with Shad Fest organizer Stephanie Moore.
And we'll learn more about a local storytelling event encouraging folks to tell about their food insecurity in Hampshire County with the Hampshire County Food Policy Council's upcoming exhibit, Sharing Stories, Creating Change, at the West Hampton Public Library.
I'm Monty Belmonte.
I'm Kali Smith. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the Fabulous 413. Eat your asparagus.